Hello everyone. Welcome to the Learning Module 4. In Learning Module 4, we're actually working from not only chapitre préliminaire, but also chapter 1 and a little bit of chapter 3. I have grouped together all of the different lessons on adjectives, and I have turned them into one 2-week learning module. So for the next 2 weeks, you are going to focus on adjectives. Now, you start with the simpler adjectives. As you can see, Wednesday, February 25th, you have your first activities for learning from chapitre préliminaire. And in chapitre préliminaire, they introduce you to adjectives that I call invariable. Invariable. What does that mean, invariable? Invariable. That means they're adjectives that whether you're using the adjective... Oh, wait a minute. Let me back up a minute. I have to tell you, you're using adjectives in French. What does that mean? Well, it does mean the same thing as in English. You use an adjective in English to modify how we and you look at the noun. And a noun can also be like a pronoun. So whether you're saying, I am happy, the I now has been modified, so it's happy, a happy I, or you are silly, or this is a strange book, or this is a modern movie, whatever. The adjective modifies how you look at the noun. In French, it basically means the same thing, but you are working with nouns that are masculine and feminine. So, and you're also working in French where the word syntax, that means word order, is slightly different. That means when you're saying, oh, this is a very modern book, you wouldn't say modern book. You would say ceci est un livre moderne. And that book is masculine and singular. So that adjective that comes after it in most cases in French is going to be masculine and singular. And that changes if you say ceci est une affiche moderne. Now, moderne is the adjective attached to une affiche. Or now if you make it pluriel, ce sont des affiches modernes. Now the adjective is going to be in agreement with a feminine and plural. Or ce sont des affiches, or ce sont des stylos, or ce sont des livres, now it's masculine plural, modernes. So, you're juggling with the verb être, because you use être a lot to talk in terms of adjectives, like she is, he is, je suis, tu es, il est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont, and then the adjective. And you're also juggling with this new notion of masculine and feminine nouns or pronouns, as well as singular and plural. So I'm giving you 2 weeks to work this out. We start, now to get back before I digressed, we start with the invariable. Invariable are adjectives that actually don't really change, unless, of course, in writing you add in an S if they're plural. Those are the first adjectives that you meet when you open up your book. And by the way, there are podcasts that you can use. You open up your book and you see all of these different adjectives. These are adjectives that don't change because their masculine form actually ends with an E. So, célèbre, dynamique, énergique, facile, inutile, moderne, modeste, nécessaire, optimiste, pessimiste, pratique, sociable, timide, utile. Okay, I could use these exactly as they are for both il, he, or elle. Il est célèbre, elle est célèbre. Il est dynamique, elle est dynamique. Il est énergique, elle est énergique. Il est facile, elle est facile. Or, talking about subjects, for example. C'est une classe dynamique. C'est une classe énergique. I just said it's a dynamic class. It's an energetic class. What if I change it and I talk about the course itself? C'est un cours dynamique. C'est un cours énergique. Doesn't change. However, if I go to the top, I see adjectives that do change. They change in how you hear them. They change in how you write them. Your book gives an example here with intelligent. Tom est intelligent. But what if I said, okay, she's a tomboy, so it's really a girl. Thomas est intelligente. I add in the E, it becomes intelligente. Sylvie est intelligente. And then if I'm talking in the plural, Tom et Jacques, or Tom et Sylvie, sont intelligents. Masculine plural, add an S. Feminine plural, it's an ES. Sylvie et sa copine, Sylvie and her friend, two girls, elles sont intelligentes. Now, as you look through these lists of adjectives, most you can guess. You know why? Because they have common Latin roots with your adjectives. Even with amusant. He's amusing. Oh, funny. Or amusement park, right? Or brillant. Or charmant. Or content. Doué. Now, some of them are totally new for you. Doué, gifted. Embêtant, annoying. When the book thinks you don't know them, it actually gives you the translation. Annoying, gifted, even funny. But when the book assumes that you understand that intelligent is intelligent, they don't. Oh, and méchant, that's a new one. So, as you first begin this week, you're using these adjectives that either don't change from masculine to feminine, or change, but kind of in a way that's very easy to maneuver. You just, look, you want to make it feminine, you add an E. And that, of course, changes the pronunciation. But you're just adding an E. Note with words like doué, that ends with that E aigu, E, you add an E, and you see the difference when it's in front of you in writing, but you don't hear the difference. So, to start, for this first week, you're working with just the basic first impressions with adjectives. And you work through, I've taken this activity, les cours. This is kind of fun because you hear adjectives that describe various courses, and you decide which ones go. This is just semantics. Look at this activity. You have to choose between le chinois, le français, ou le journalisme. In this activity, you're just listening to the meaning of the adjectives. But in other activities, and it's like anyone can get anything right, because, for example, if you hear le chinois, le français, le journalisme, if you hear utile as the adjective, like very useful, some of you think journalism is useful, but some of you who are going into international commerce think Chinese is useful, and some of you who may want to set up a career between the United States and Africa will think that le français is very useful. I'm not going to grade you incorrect for one or correct for one. This is an activity that's just about the meaning of adjectives. But as you work through, you'll have activities that also force you to look at the form of adjectives. In this one, it's about the Clinton, and you have to decide il ou elle. In case you hadn't known, there's a very famous couple called the Clintons. There's Bill and Hillary. So Bill Hillary. You actually can do this activity without knowing them, although who doesn't know who Bill and Hillary Clinton are? Because the activity is asking you to assign a Bill or a Hillary purely based on form. For example, the first one, est doué. You can't say Bill est doué here because there's an extra E. It has to be Hillary, est doué. And so on and so forth for passionnante, intelligent, patient, amusante, content. So you're just teaching yourself in a way. I'm letting you work through the different adjectives. And I also, at the same time, ask that you download these two activities, well, not activities, it's the front and back of a sheet. Le féminin des adjectifs. Classer, so, organize the masculine adjectives and show the feminine form. As you move forward in this module, you will encounter adjectives that are not so regular. That means you don't just add an E at the end. As we move forward into the next week, let me show you this into week 2. So next Wednesday, you're going to be looking at adjectives that are that follow different patterns. And I've given you a tutorial. I've actually assigned a tutorial for this week. But I've also given you this kind of nifty little worksheet. Here are a lot of qualité and défaut, okay? These are different positive qualities, and they're adjectives. And these are different negative. Some of these are very simple, like the invariable we were talking about. They don't change from masculine to feminine. And some of them follow very specific patterns. This sheet allows you to teach yourself as you complete it. So you just follow this like, okay, if the adjective masculin ends in E, then the féminin is identique. Those are the invariables. So go and look for the ones ending in E, and they're invariables. But if the adjective masculin ends in N, then 2N, E is the feminine ending. So fill out this adjective list. Teach yourself as you go about the different patterns. And this pattern would be, okay, I know this pattern because the masculine adjective ends in I. So then you add an E in the feminine form. Or this pattern, the masculine adjective ends in S. In that case, the feminine is going to have an SSE. Here, the masculine adjective ends in F. So then the feminine is going to end in VE. So, for example, incompréhensif. Il est incompréhensif. It's not understanding. Elle est incompréhensive. So it's just like a kind of treasure hunt. Not the kind of treasure hunt you thought you'd be going on, but it's going to actually, as you work through it, teach you the different patterns of adjectives, so that as you go forward into the second week of this module, you'll be able to deal with both kind of invariable or simpler adjective patterns, just add an E and then it's feminine, or the ones where you really see a change. At the end of this module, you will come back to your learning module. So in the second week of this module, you will open up the Blackboard and you will watch this video. It's so fun. It has subtitles too. And in the video, you hear a selection of randomly chosen Parisians on the street talking about Parisians. And you will respond to the learning module question based on what you've heard. Parisians are not. And you can also listen to this song by Louise Attaque. Voila. I hope this has given you an orientation. I may put up a second integrity class next week in which I actually am doing all of the different activities that are posted as due on Wednesday. Those are your textbook activities. But for now, I'd like you to kind of get going on your own and start working. Print out this sheet and start learning the new patterns.